とこらどっこいしょっと落ち着いて祝えば今年も福が来るこらよいさよいよいとこらどっこいしょっと餅つく前は米よくこねることよいよいさあ米こねて粘り出せさあ米こねてテカリ出せよいよい
My organization has basically two missions, to preserve civil rights, in particular for Japanese Americans, but also for all Americans. And our other mission is cultural preservation. And in that part of the mission, getting involved with Mochitsuki that sort of touched a lot of cultural areas.
Growing up, that was always a part of my life, was going to church, playing taiko, but not necessarily for the third, fourth generation Japanese Americans, especially in the community. We've really tried to do a good job of bringing in Japanese nationals as well, who might be new to the Portland area. There's things that they do back in Japan that you don't see a lot here in Portland, but maybe you come to Mochitsuki and it can be your one time a year where you see some of the traditions that you're familiar with.
I grew up in Japan, and New Year celebration is much bigger than other celebration like Christmas, or we didn't have, of course, Thanksgiving. So New Year's is like something very special for me in Japan. But when first I moved here 20 years ago, I didn't really see any oshogatsu. Oshogatsu is New Year's, but I didn't feel the shogatsu feeling here. So I was sad, but this Mochitsuki bringing the New Year celebration feeling to me, so it's really special.
We've had a lot of Japanese nationals say, I haven't had my mochi yet this year, and they really feel there's something missing. It's kind of like not having Christmas. You didn't have a Christmas tree. To have their mochi is how they start the new year, and so there's a lot of people who come to Mochitsuki really enjoying, not just enjoying, but having it as a part of their life.
In Japan, when you say Mochitsuki, that's what most people think of, is just mochi pounding, and not all the other stuff. So when Japanese people hear about our Mochitsuki here, I think they get a little bit confused because here it's like a whole big community event, and it's a little more than they're used to. Or in Japan, it's more of like a family gathering. Here it's a lot bigger.
It is a very traditional Japanese New Year's food, and it represents wealth, bounty. Sweet rice isn't something that most people used to not be able to get.
It's a pretty important part of the culture of the Japanese American community, where in the new year it's sort of a refreshing, a restart, a time to put old things behind you and look forward to new, better things.
I think it started out to introduce Japanese tradition, but now I feel like we are representing ourselves, our community.
I think Mochitsuki really represents community, harmony, and working together to uphold a culture and a tradition and sharing that with others. We have on the planning committee about 14, 15 individuals representing at least 9 different organizations. And so really these organizations working together to share the best of what Japan has to offer, not just Japan, but Japanese American culture as well.
What I love about Mochitsuki is the symbolism of the individual grains of rice being pounded together to make a unified whole. So we really view the many parts of the community coming together and creating a unified whole. This is the time where all of the different community organizations cooperate together with the goal of presenting this amazing festival.
To me, that's kind of the main theme of Mochitsuki, is being able to bring all these different people together. And hopefully, there's certain people I know I only see once a year, and that's at Mochitsuki. That's because we do bring all these different components together. And you go to your church, you might see the same people every week, or you go to your taiko group or whatever, but this is the one chance we get to see everyone together. which I think is really cool, and it's nice we can share that with Portland and bring in new people. Maybe you're only part of one group and you don't see the whole community all together, but this is one chance where you get to see everything all in one place.
So a lot of organizations are planning throughout the year, and we may not really know each other, but because we work together on planning Mochitsuki, the organizations become connected to each other. And the result is really being able to share Japanese and Japanese American culture.
Well, I got involved with Mochitsuki in that the organization that I'm the treasurer for decided that it was pretty consistent with our cultural preservation mission. I'm with the Japanese American Citizens League. And so we teamed up with a number of other organizations in town and decided that Portland area needed a Japanese-oriented festival.
Well, I was actually there at the very first Mochitsuki that we had in Portland. Portland Taiko's directors Ann Ishimaru and Zach Simke had gone to a Mochitsuki in Washington and felt we really should have one in Portland. And so began planning for our very first one, which was connected to a JACL New Year's party.
Yeah, the very first one, it was in the basement or the Oregon Buddhist Temple, and that was the main thing. Now we've got all of these different activities and booths and food and everything like that. And at the first one, it was really centered just on the mochi pounding. What I remember, I was 10 at the time, so my memory's probably not the best. But we were all crammed into the basement. We actually had some people had to wait at the door because we were at capacity for the fire marshal. So before someone could come in, someone else had to leave. But I think we've still done a good job of that. Most every year that recently we've been packed to the gills with people, and there's just been a lot of different activities going on. You look over here and there'll be kendo going on. You look over there, and some people are pounding mochi, and we've got a tea ceremony. We've had origami, calligraphy, then we've got all the different performances, and that energy, I think really does represent what we had at the very first time, and that's been something we've consciously tried to maintain throughout the years, is to have that vibe.
Mochitsuki started with Portland Taiko and the Japanese American Citizens League and Oregon Nikkei Legacy Center. So it was those three organizations working together, but Konko Church very early on became a key part of Mochitsuki because they make mochi.
Our church was asked, along with, I believe, other temples and shrines, churches, to join Mochitsuki. And this was, I believe, their second year. Our church, the Konko Church of Portland, had been making mochi for over 30 years. And our kids have always enjoyed fresh mochi, which is very different. Fresh mochi has a much fuller flavor and texture, and we wanted everyone else to be able to enjoy that as well. So we really felt that was where we can help, and I think ever since then, almost 17 or 18 years, we've been handing out free samples of mochi.
When we were at PSU in 2003, Mochitsuki was basically only a stage show and a little bit of other vendors with a sort of a smattering of food. It was more like a stage production with a few extras. Now, in my opinion, now that we're back, not only back at PSU, but we're back in the Smith Center, where we're actually putting on a full-blown festival that has all kinds of food.
But over the years, we've added different components to the event as well, where it started off just with mochi pounding. We added, taiko performances, and then that kind of grew into a whole stage performance. And now that's a pretty key part of Mochitsuki. While we've got the booths and the different activities going on, people can also go watch a performance. And that first Mochitsuki didn't have any of the other booths or food or activities as well. So, we've added on throughout the years.
There was a point, 2 different times within the last 6 years, where the committee really we're at a point where we had to decide, where do we want Mochitsuki to go? And that was, do we want to go big and just invite everybody in, or do we want to make it something more? And we decided we wanted it to be special. We wanted to create memories, create traditions.
I think the future for Mochitsuki is, as the community continues to grow here in Portland, for Mochitsuki to be able to grow with it and add on, new groups that are forming. That'll be the challenge for us, is to continue incorporating new groups, and not just taiko, but any type of art, culture, a social group, or even a church or a school or something like that, is to continue to involve all the new parts of the community.
I'm hoping that Mochitsuki continues to grow in the depth and richness of the activities that are offered. One of the big changes that's taken place over the years is that what started as being mostly the Japanese American community has come to encompass the Japanese national immigrant community, people who have recently moved here from Japan. And we continue to learn from each other and want to continue to celebrate together.
But something that's really, I feel, missing is the spiritual experience. And we've experimented with this a little bit before and wasn't able to do it because of the space, but we really want to be able to bring the spiritual aspect of Japan, Japanese culture, the feeling and atmosphere of what Japanese New Year's would be, and just the self-cleansing at the beginning of the New Year. These are the real essence of Japanese New Year, is the new beginning.
I would like to see Mochitsuki celebration 30 years, 50 years, and probably I want to see after that. I'll be too old to see, but hopefully this event will go 100 years, 200 years, like for a long time, becoming a new tradition.
Well, obviously we've been doing this for 20 years. It's been very well received, and I think personally that this will continue to grow. It'll obviously depend on the will and willingness of a lot of volunteers in the organizations to continue to do this. But again, as long as we're continuing to have some fun as we put this on, and the people are very receptive to enjoying what we're doing, I think it has a bright future.
Something I think would apply to life is that people are always so busy, especially going to an event like this where there's so many things to do. We're just kind of push to the next thing. But really should, don't miss taking in the moment.